Coming up on Arirang News, South Korea's record-breaking monsoon continues. Flooding and landslides have caused widespread damage to property and taken at least 17 lives. The government's now declared a special disaster zone. Floods hit North Korea too, with leader Kim Jong-un pledging emergency aid and food to the people affected. The regime has not reported any casualties. And South Korea's second biggest air carrier, Asiana Airlines, posts a surprise profit in the second quarter. International travel is at a virtual standstill, but the company's shifted resources to cargo. It's 5 p.m. here in Seoul. Thank you for tuning in to Arirang News. I'm Devin Whiting. Torrential rain has been wreaking havoc in South Korea for days now, causing numerous deaths and widespread damage to property and infrastructure. Thousands of homes have been damaged by floods and thousands of people have had to evacuate. Ji-young has our top story.
The damage is mounting up due to the heavy downpours that have slammed South Korea, especially Seoul and the central region. According to the Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasure Headquarters, as of 6 a.m. on Friday, 17 people have died since the start of August and 10 are unaccounted for. This does not include the 1 death and 5 people still missing after a private inflatable boat and a patrol boat capsized Thursday as they attempted to rescue crew on a police boat at a dam in Gangwon-do province. South Korea's prime minister offered his condolences to the victims and the families and urged the authorities to do all they can.
I visited the scene and it was very sad. The accident occurred because of a judgment that's hard to understand because water was being released from the dam.
In the last 7 days, around 2,500 people have been affected, mostly in terms of property damage. In total, more than 4,700 people have been evacuated, though some of these people have now returned home. More than 1,900 houses have been flooded, as have roughly 8,100 hectares of farmland and around 1,000 roads and bridges have been damaged. South Korea is expected to get up to 300 millimeters of rain until Saturday, accompanied by wind, thunder, and lightning. Some parts of the country are forecast to see 30 to 50 millimeters of rain per hour, including parts of Gyeonggi-do, Gangwon-do, and the Chungcheong-do provinces. The South Korean government on Friday declared the 7 most severely damaged areas as special disaster zones, including Ansong City in Gyeonggi-do province, Cheolwon City in Gangwon-do province, and parts of Chungcheong-do province to free up emergency relief funds. Ji-young, Arirang News.
In North Korea, leader Kim Jong-un has paid a visit to a village in Hwanghae-bukdo province, one of the regions hit hard by the floods. The North state-run Korean Central News Agency said Kim went to parts of Eunpa County and ordered officials to distribute his own reserve stocks of grain to help people there. The report did not say when he went, but it was likely on Thursday when there were heavy rain warnings in effect. Kim also ordered officials to supply bedding, daily necessities, and medicine, and mobilize the army to help with reconstruction. The KCNA said nearly 730 homes and 600 hectares of rice-growing land were flooded, and more than 700 homes were destroyed. It said no casualties were reported. President Moon Jae-in's chief of staff, No Young-min, along with another 5 senior secretaries, have offered to resign, in their words, to take responsibility for recent affairs. Those include the senior secretaries for political affairs, public communications, civil affairs, civic society, and personnel. A top Blue House official said Friday that the secretaries were taking overall responsibility for the recent situation. When asked if that refers to growing public criticism over the administration's real estate policy, the official did not provide a direct answer. Recently, top Blue House officials owning multiple homes were advised to sell all but one each, amid efforts to curb speculation and soaring property prices. The official added that President Moon will decide whether to accept the resignations. South Korea's second biggest air carrier, Asiana Airlines, has reported a surprise profit in the second quarter despite the virtual shutdown in international travel. It's a notable turnaround for Asiana, which has not only struggled in the pandemic, it's been posting losses since 2018. For the second quarter, Asiana posted a net profit of $98 million. The company explained that increased cargo deliveries, especially to the U.S. and Europe, helped offset a 92% decline in passenger flights. Asiana has also put all of its 10,500 employees on unpaid leave for 2 weeks a month. Executives have also agreed to a pay cut of 60%. The U.S. State Department has lifted its blanket advice that people avoid all international travel and has returned to giving country-specific advice. South Korea was put on level 3, meaning reconsider travel, while a number of countries still remain on the highest advisory, level 4. Yoon Jung-min tells us more.
The U.S. State Department has lifted its global advisories that recommended U.S. citizens avoid all international travel due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The department said in its statement on Thursday that it is returning to its previous system of country-specific levels of travel advice. It says the health and safety conditions are showing improvement in some countries and potentially deteriorating in others. The general do not travel advice had been in place since March. The department said it still recommends Americans exercise caution when traveling abroad. Dozens of countries, including India, China, and Russia, are still classified as level 4, which means do not travel. The U.S. State Department also put North Korea on the level 4 list, citing COVID-19 and other concerns. South Korea and members of the European Union are classified as level 3, which asks people to reconsider travel. The whole of South Korea is at level 3, including Daegu, which had previously been at level 4 due to the outbreak of COVID-19 there in February. Only a few countries were put on the lower risk advisories, including Thailand and New Zealand. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
Starting next week, more South Korean sports fans will be able to go to baseball and football games in person. Stadiums have been operating at 10% capacity, but the sports ministry says that'll go up to 30%. It starts with baseball games slated for next Tuesday and football matches next Friday. The limited opening so far has apparently been successful. However, the Korean Baseball Organization did say that even with the new policy, it's only going to open at 25% capacity until it's clear that fans are complying fully with social distancing measures. Time now for an in-depth look at the market news on this Friday, and for that I'm joined on the line by Mr. Daniel Yu, Global Strategist at Yuanta Securities. Mr. Yu, thank you for making time today.
Thank you for having me tonight.
Well, U.S. stocks were up on Thursday yet again. Unemployment claims have fallen, contributing to that. The Nasdaq rising to 11,000 for the first time. What's the story in the global markets?
Yes, as you said, U.S. market continued its rise as Dow Jones was up about 0.7%, S&P was up about 0.6%, and Nasdaq was up 1%. Most of the days, U.S. market was kind of weak, but after the news of the U.S. unemployment benefits, the market recovered. The number came in at 1.186 million last week, which is the lowest since the lockdown started, and well below the expectation of 1.423 million. Now, the traders are waiting for the monthly non-farm payrolls reports for July. It is expected to show a net gain of about 1.2 million or so. Overall, the U.S. market is watching closely in terms of whether the economy would be able to continue to show recovery in the future. It seems that, though, the Wall Street seems to be quite optimistic that U.S. policymaker will reach an agreement on a COVID-19 relief package by the end of this week. The President Donald Trump said that he expects to sign orders on Friday or Saturday, enhance the unemployment benefits and imposing the payroll tax holidays. All in all, it basically benefited the global equity market, and most of the market showed a sizable rise. Also, it affected positively on Korean market today.
Right, here in Korea, stocks started out stronger, touching a new yearly high during the session and then closing up about 0.4%. What was driving that trade today?
Yes, as you said, Korean market has risen by about 0.4% for KOSPI, and also KOSDAQ was up 0.4% as well. It continues to be the highest level in the last 2 years. As you said, it peaked in the morning, and it kind of declined slightly. But overall, the rising trend seems to be continuing. If you look at the market recovery, it's quite astonishing that if you look at the KOSDAQ, it is one of the highest rise from the bottom if you compare to any other indices in the world. That's because the Korea's the bio industry seems to be doing quite well because of their recovery that we're seeing in terms of the COVID-19 issues. All in all, everybody's looking for the continuation of the money supply growth rate, as well as the kind of recovery that we are seeing in Korea, particularly in regards to the domestic consumption side due to the government boosting measures. We think that on a valuation level, Kospi seems to be still fairly attractive. As for the Kosdaq, it seems to be a little bit expensive in the valuation territories. And given the fact that it has a huge percentage of bio-related stocks and that it has risen significantly as it is, we are becoming a little bit cautious. But nevertheless, overall, Korean market seems to be fairly cheap in terms of valuation relative to the global market. Of course, with the U.S. market continue to show rising trend, we think that there will be more room for Kospi to rise. Also, Korean won stabilizing at below 1,200 won to dollar rate. Foreign investors' interest towards Korea should remain to be fairly high in the future.
Well, Mr. Yu, the pandemic's been threatening the survival of many airlines around the world. In Korea, the airlines have moved quickly to switch their focus to cargo service, which it turns out has put Korean Air and Asiana Airlines back into profit for the second quarter. Tell us about that and your outlook for the industry.
Right. This is the pure example of how Korea is tackling the incident of COVID-19 well relative to other economies in the world. This sector, the airline sector, is one sector that I have not been recommending to investors on a global scale because of the sales numbers are coming at 95% down from the before the COVID-19. Now it is recovering a bit, but still it's well below 50% of what they used to make if you look at it on a global scale. But as you said, the Korean Air and the Asiana have done much better than most of the other airline companies, as it has shown a operating profit numbers because of their skew towards the cargo businesses. Their Korea operating profit was up. It was coming in at 148.5 billion won, which is about $125 million for the April to June period. Clearly, it is a very significant growth, 95% from YOY number, and the cargo sale is rising by that much. And clearly, the focus has been quite good, and operational-wise, they're doing all the possible things are possible to make this company floatable, meaning that generating profits. If this kind of thing continues, we think that the airline business should be quite reasonably good, and it is tackling the right areas where the electronic goods, particularly the handset and memory chips, these growth rates are still very strong in that the Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix are one of the major the market share players in this business, global scale. So clearly, if you ship these the cargo business towards these goods, then they can continue to show quite strong rise year on year. So that is the one way of tackling this COVID-19 pandemic issues. And clearly, Korean airline companies are doing relatively better than most of the other countries. And we think that we can apply to this type of mentality to most of the other industries, including semiconductors and semiconductor equipment, as well as the petrochemicals and energy solution areas, also batteries and electric cars related sectors. All that is benefiting. So therefore, we think that the industry pictures, it's all relative to the global economy. So Korea seems to be quite attractive on a relative basis compared to any other countries in the world.
It's a remarkable story. All right, Mr. Yu, thank you so much for coming on today. Have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you.
The Japanese company Nippon Steel has filed an immediate appeal in South Korea against a court-ordered seizure of its local assets. Those assets, if seized, would be used to compensate South Koreans subjected to forced labor by the company during World War II. The filing of the appeal by Nippon Steel was confirmed by the Daegu District Court this morning. The seizure order was set to take effect next week, so this postpones the order, giving the company another chance to make its case. Japan's indicated that it'll retaliate if the seizure goes ahead, which could mean tariffs, financial sanctions, or other measures. South Korea's official English language TV channel, Arirang, will share the country's best-loved animation programs with the National Network of Nicaragua, SNTV, at a signing ceremony which was held on Friday, local time, at Arirang Tower in southern Seoul. Arirang TV CEO Lee Sung-yeol and Nicaraguan ambassador to South Korea, Wendy Palma, who attended on behalf of SNTV, inked the Memorandum of Understanding. Under the MOU, the South Korean cartoons Bororo and Tayo, the Little Bus, will be introduced to Nicaragua as early as next month. And that brings us to the end of this newscast. Thank you for watching. More live news coming your way at 7 p.m. Korea time.